Everybody, this is John and welcome to the free video. So for today, had a fairly interesting trade on Tesla. A couple different things, a couple different angles to look at here. Okay, so we've got average true range. If you guys are familiar with this, you know, I always look for things to move kind of in derivatives of its average true range, which is what it did today. But in terms of a trigger for a specific trade. So Tesla was one where we didn't have a lot of exposure in. We held it over the weekend. We got this Friday at like 3:30 p.m. Central, and then got out of it this morning at like 9 a.m. Central. So total holding time was 1 hour, 1 market hour. And it didn't have a lot of exposure to it, and you can see we booked $30,000, and I got out of it early. I got out of it when it was quote-unquote only up $6.50, and it continued to go higher after that. All right, so what was the setup that I used on this? So specifically, what I was looking at here was an RAF buy. Okay, now this is not an RAF buy. That is not an RAF buy. Okay, that is an RAF buy. And once we got that, we felt comfortable getting into this thing long and then holding on. That was the first part of the move. Okay, and then we got out here, and that was a trade we did last week. But what about this part right here? So for that part, it was a little different, and this is what I call the voodoo line melt up, VLMU. And this is what happens. You can see it slammed up against this. It's trading, and then once it starts to break away, we experience what's called the voodoo line melt up. Okay, and typically what will happen is the green line, which is the second most strongest, okay, the green one will typically either reject prices and send it back from whence it came, or if it can consolidate for a while and break through, it'll just like a magnet get sucked up to the next one. And then from there we look for any potential that it's got the ability to go. And when it started pushing through this, that's when I took profit. So that was a trade I showed you guys today, is that when it closed above this level on Friday, it's like, wow, this thing's going to get sucked up to this one fairly quickly. And that's exactly what happened today. And that's just called, again, voodoo line melt up. And then we had another one of these trades that set up in Google right here. Again, that's the RAF buy off of the voodoo. And once that got going, okay, once that got going, and I'll take off the Fibonacci's here because there's a lot of lines, you'll see that we got the melt up, you know, and these dotted lines are kind of the pauses along the way. It just becomes like a magnet up to the next level, okay, magnet up to the next level. And as you can see here, this turned into very quickly, a very nice trade. In this case, it was good for $74,000. But more importantly, it was a very, and if it was for more conservative approach, you could have sold a spread on it. And the spread in this case was good for $7,000. So whatever size account you have or whatever your trading style is, you can apply a very conservative strategy to this or an aggressive one. Okay, and obviously I like to do a combination of both, leaning towards aggressive. Okay, but once you have the signal, you can apply whatever criteria that you have for your own personal account. Right? Position size. You don't want to risk more than 1%. Great. You're going to trade a smaller position size. You want to be more conservative. Err on the side of doing a spread instead of an outright call. Okay, you can do all that, but you're putting the odds in your favor when you combine these things. So if you're not familiar with these setups, I'm going to be talking about these along with David Starr Wednesday, and that's tomorrow. This is a free webinar. It's going to start at 7 o'clock Central, which of course is 8 o'clock East Coast time. And I'm going to talk specifically about what I'm looking for these setups, okay? Because these are the ones when you're patient for them and wait and have the patience for them to come along, they can reap fairly big rewards. So simplertrading.com/triple, that'll get you here. You can claim your free spot, and we will dive in and talk all about that. So what are some of the things we're going to talk about? We're going to be talking about precise turns, essentially how to catch the reversals, okay? Exactly when to enter retracements without taking a lot of heat, i.e. without catching a falling knife or stepping in front of a grand piano or a freight train. Identifying the hidden support and resistance levels, that's one of my favorite. Using the Dynarange indicator to lock in profits, okay, which are dynamically generated. 3 key ingredients for low risk setups, okay, because you'll see, it's like all these different things, but it's a combination of 3 things that I'm looking for. When those happened, the odds of it working out increase substantially, okay, and a whole lot more there. So we're going to be talking about all these different things. It's a very, in terms of anything, the combinations of stuff we do, it's, in terms of directional stuff, is the most powerful thing that we do. So if this is new for you, you're not familiar with it, you'll definitely want to join us on this free webinar to learn all about it. All right, once again, simplertrading.com/triple will take you here. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you at the next episode.